Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about the ongoing war, Netanyahu's war on Iran. And clearly, for the first day, the United States has enjoyed many tactical wins. Clearly, like I said, the United States and Israel have essentially four goals, which are of tactical nature. The strategic goal, obviously, is to bring about regime change in Iran, to replace the Islamic government, Islamic Republic of Iran, with a pro-Israeli government. They just want a government. I don't think the U.S. has any interest in promoting democracy in Iran. I mean, Donald Trump is not promoting democracy here at home. So you can imagine and expect him to promote democracy in Iran would be ludicrous. So anyway, so what the US is basically interested in is installing a puppet regime in Tehran that will serve the strategic interests of Israel, will not resist Israel's expansion in the region, in the Middle East. As Mike Huckabee said, ultimately Israel wants to basically govern over all the Arab lands in the Middle East, and they don't want any country like Iran, which will resist and oppose Israeli hegemony in the region. And the United States, perhaps Donald Trump might be eventually interested in controlling the oil that comes out of Iran. So that possibility does exist. But the idea that Israel and the United States are promoting some kind of democracy in Iran is ridiculous. You have to be completely out of your mind if you think that is going to happen. The United States, especially under Donald Trump now, has become so anti-democratic, even at home. Even at home, so to expect any kind of efforts to promote democracy overseas would be ridiculous. But nevertheless, I think today's day was in some ways the US and Israel enjoyed many tactical wins, no doubt about it. Like I said last time, that there are four tactical goals that the US has. Number one, to decimate the Iranian leadership. They have succeeded. There are about 40 major leaders of Iran's government that were killed, including the supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei, which is a huge, shall we say, security failure and defensive failure on Iran's part, and a huge success for Israel and the United States. They also have targeted many other targets. They are trying to also destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities. They will also try to destroy Iran's ballistic missile capabilities, and also try to decimate as much as possible the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, IRGC, to whatever extent they can, because that is the backbone of the regime, and they want to break the backbone of that regime in order for an alternative government to come about in Iran. So these are the four tactical goals. The strategic goal, obviously, is to establish a pro-Israel government in Tehran, as they did in 1953, when they destroyed Iran's democracy and replaced it with a monarchy. But have they been successful? So the reports that we are seeing that are coming out are not exactly what I think Donald Trump wants to see. First of all, Iran is not capitulating. Iran is not Venezuela. I don't think Iran is going to surrender. Iran is going to fight back. And it does seem to appear Iran has attacked 7 Arab countries, I think: Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, in Jordan. These are the 5, and Saudi Arabia. So these are the 6 countries that Iran has attacked, retaliated, basically targeting American bases there. And I think one American base, I don't know where that was, either in Qatar or Kuwait, was hit directly, even though so far, fortunately, there have been no American casualties in the region. But the Iran's attack on Dubai has been quite devastating. It has hit all the iconic buildings in Dubai. Dubai airport has been hit directly. All the flights out of Dubai have been apparently stopped. I was looking at some reports. I was on an Indian channel just now, and they were showing various reports coming out of Dubai that all the flights have been suspended in Dubai, and so Dubai airport has been closed. Most of the Middle Eastern cities are now under fear. So there are the Burj Khalifa, the Burj Arab, the famous hotels have also been hit by this. So there is an attack. Of course, there is a lot of condemnation also coming with Iran targeting civilian targets, but none of these countries, I mean, there is very clear indication that countries like the United Arab Emirates have been very closely allied with Israel, the so-called Abraham Accords, and they have been pushing the United States to go after Iran. This is a well-known fact. In fact, Washington Post just published an article that says that MBS himself, Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, made many private phone calls to Donald Trump, urging him to attack Iran. So essentially, heavy lobbying from Netanyahu and MBS. That's what Washington Post has reported, but I wouldn't trust Washington Post. This during wartime, Washington Post and New York Times become very pro-Israel, and they are basically embedded into the United States military needs. If you recall what happened during the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. But nevertheless, that report is out there. I think if that is not true, then Mohammed bin Salman or somebody from the Saudi establishment should immediately issue a statement saying that what Washington Post has published is not true. We do know that the Saudi Arabia has publicly declared that it will not allow its airspace to be used by Israeli or American jets. And they have also said that they are opposed to the United States and Israel attacking Iran, and have publicly advocated for dialogue and negotiated outcome. And Oman played a role in trying to mediate this. So the Gulf countries have played some role. But it does appear that at the moment, Saudi Arabia is also being very critical of Iran for attacking Arab countries. This is just the beginning. See, the thing is that what Donald Trump and Netanyahu, and this is really Israel's war, there's absolutely nothing in the US national interest. If you're talking about America first policy, it doesn't. Go back and listen to J.D. Vance talk about it just a year ago, or any other MAGA person. They all said America first just means that there is no more endless wars in the Middle East fighting on the behalf of Israel. So this is purely Netanyahu's war. This is just to advance and secure Israel's hegemonic interests in the Middle East, no other reason. In fact, the US intelligence right now has estimated that Iran does not pose any immediate or even long-term threat to the United States in any way. So this war is a war of choice by Donald Trump, but this is Israel's war, Netanyahu's war. And the Arab countries apparently behind the scenes have been encouraging that, look, Iran has never been this weak, and so it is in the interest of everybody to attack Iran. Apparently, the Arab countries are eager and happy to live under Israeli hegemony, and they do not want to live in the Middle East where Iran is a dominant power. I think that is their strategic choice. They would rather bend the knee to Israel than bend the knee to Iran. But the strategic mistake I think that the United States and Israel have done is to issue this ultimatum and call for a regime change. They're publicly asking the people of Iran to rise. Remember, the United States did this before when they attacked Iraq under Saddam Hussein, and they invited the Kurdish population to rise in opposition to Saddam Hussein. And then later on, they abandoned the Kurds, and Saddam Hussein then used chemical weapons on Kurds and killed 50,000 Kurds because they had risen in uprising against him at the behest of the United States. So the United States has done this in the past, and I don't think that Donald Trump is going to stay in there for months on months if this war were to continue. He thinks this is going to be done quickly like this. This is like just another Venezuela. I don't think that is going to happen. I think he has been misled by Israel, and particularly Netanyahu and maybe his other Arab friends who have encouraged this. I don't understand how a dominant Israel in the Middle East, an unchecked Israel in the Middle East, is in the interest of Arab countries. I fail to see that at all. But nevertheless, by pushing Iran into a situation where it genuinely sees this war as an existential war, for the US, this is a war of choice. And for Israel, this is a war of its religious. Israel is a religious fanatic country, and it is pursuing its religious dreams. It's like the Taliban, a Jewish Taliban. So, but for the Israeli-Iranian regime, this is a war of existential war. If they lose this war, they are done. It's not as if they're okay, we took a beating and that's over. It's not like what happened last summer. Okay, fine, they attacked our nuclear facilities and we could not defend it, and that's the end of it. No, this is not like this. This war, Donald Trump has already announced very clearly, is to precipitate a regime change in Tehran. They want a different government to come into position. And therefore, I think this Iranian regime will fight with everything that it has. Already, Israeli attacks and US attacks in Tehran have killed over 100 children in schools. So this is going to create a lot of anger. Plus, I do not think that the Iranian population is going to essentially be pro Israel in any way, no matter what. They might hate their own government, they might hate their own regime, but I don't think that they are pro of enough. Yes, there are some Iranians who have sold their soul to and become Mossad agents and have worked with Israeli intelligence, but that is not something that I think the vast majority of the Iranian population is going through. The videos that are coming out of Iran and the videos that we see of Iranian attacks on most of the Gulf countries shows that this war is going to be very, very complicated. Iran allegedly has already shut down the Strait of Hormuz, which is so critical, through which 20% of the global oil flows. And I think we are going to see a spike in the price of oil, which means many countries which depend on the Middle Eastern oil will begin to face inflation. And their economies are going to be hurt in many, many ways. So we are going to see some kind of such disastrous developments in the region. More or less, I think what is going to happen is as more and more people continue to threaten the regime, I think what is going to happen is that more and more people probably are going to align. That is the key. Where does the Iranian population go? Does it rally behind the flag and become nationalistic and say, fine, we hate this government, but who is America, an imperial power? Who is Israel, a Zionist power, to come and attack us? And if that sentiment catches on, then perhaps I think these dreams that the Iranian public will rise against the regime may fail. The United States doesn't seem to have a ground game for this war. And let me tell you that, as I said in the past, that this is the third time that the US has attempted a regime change in the greater Middle East in the past. In this century, they tried that in Afghanistan, and today, after 20 years of occupying Afghanistan, we are back to square. There was Taliban in 2001, and there's Taliban in 2021. The US tried for 20 years, spent trillions of dollars, lost thousands of lives to bring about regime change in Afghanistan, and they failed utterly. They tried the same thing in Iraq. Iraq was a pro-Western, anti-Iran country. And after the US invasion of Iraq, it became an anti-West, pro-Iran country. It still is. So the US experiment, both in Iraq as well as Afghanistan, has failed significantly for regime change. And this idea that they will succeed in Iran, I find is ludicrous. The Iranian regime is not shallow. It has many layers and layers and layers. So uprooting it is not going to be as easy as it was to uproot the Ba'athist government in Iraq. And the US could never get rid of the Taliban in Afghanistan. And this is after occupying both those countries for several years and spending trillions of dollars. Is Donald Trump going to do that? Is he going to occupy Iran and spend trillions of dollars? Do you know how many people, what big an army it would require to occupy a country of 90 million people? I'm not sure whether that is going to happen. Yes, Iran will not be able to have major strikes, I think, but what little rockets and drones, etc., they will be able to make, they're going to be hitting anybody and everybody around the region. So I think what we are seeing now is a response from Iran, which is coming, and it is exposing the shallowness of this strategy. For Israel, I think Israel is going to be happy with just the tactical wins. If Iran's nuclear capacity is degraded, if Iran's ballistic missile capability is degraded, and destroyed their factories, their launch pads, etc., then Israel will be quite happy because they feel that since they are no one holds them accountable. America gives them whatever they want, money and weapons wise. So if necessary, they can do this again and again and again in the region. I mean, they have already attacked 7 countries in the past 2 years. So, but for the US, if the US strategic goal is genuinely to bring about regime change in Iran, then I don't think they are going to be successful at this moment. It doesn't appear so. They will have to have sustained military attack, completely degrade the capacity of IRGC and other pro-regime governments. Killing Khomeini and killing a few people, an 88-year-old man, I don't think is going to end the regime's resilience. This country has stood up to the US for more than 30 years, not just the US, but the entire West and its sanctions, etc. So I don't think it is just going to fall that easily. But tactically, it's going to suffer a lot. Its economy is definitely going to go tangled. So the Iranian public is going to suffer significantly as a result of this war, whether they align with the regime or they do not align with the regime. The biggest losers are going to be the Iranian public. And Israel and America will continue to, and as Iran continues to fight, they will continue to target it with a huge amount of, using 300, 400 planes. They are already hit many of the strategic targets. Then they will start hitting very soon, killing populations. And Israel, like what it did in Gaza, killed thousands of civilians, probably will start killing civilians already. There are reports coming out of Iran that 100 school children have been killed by Israeli attacks. So I think that while there are tactical wins that Netanyahu's war is enjoying, I'm not very sure that they are any closer today to gain their strategic win. We will see what happens going forward. Like I promised to you this morning, I will continue to keep an eye on the developments. But the biggest news right now is that Iran is beginning to strike back, and it is striking at the Arab Gulf states. And so Israel's partner in I2U2, Israel's partner in Abraham Accords, the United Arab Emirates, is now the number one target of Iran's retaliation. So you can see the drones and the missiles landing in Dubai, hitting Dubai airport, hitting the iconic, the tallest building in the world, and some fancy hotels in Dubai. So this will continue, I think, and as Iran's capacity is degraded by more and more US and Israeli attacks, I think that Iran will focus more and more on the Arab nation, which are easier to hit than. And I don't think that Israel and the United States are going to make any effort to protect. Remember, Qatar was also attacked by Israel. So Israel is not going to actually try to defend Qatar. They're not going to say, okay, let's relocate our Iron Dome to protect Doha. I'm not sure that is going to happen. So the Arab world is going to become a sort of collateral damage in this war. And some countries have been aligned with US Israel, and some have not. And it is pretty sad that a region which was doing well economically is going to affect, and it's also going to affect other countries. For example, about 1 crore or 10 million Indians work in the Gulf. And if this war forces them to go back, if you remember when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, I was in India in those days, and a lot of people who were working in Kuwait had to simply leave and run. And they came back, and for many years they could not go back, and many of them lost their money, lost their life savings because the Kuwaiti dinar had simply collapsed. I remember very clearly that before the first Gulf War, before Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait, the Kuwaiti dinar used to be 45 to a rupee, and then it crashed to like 2 or 3 or even below that after the war. So a lot of people who had worked hard in Kuwait, saved a lot of money, had lost all of that. So a lot of migrant workers from Egypt, from India, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, etc., could potentially suffer. The rich people will hide in some of the nicer hotels, which will be protected by whatever defense capacities the UAE has. But I think that this war, if it continues, is going to basically burn down the Gulf, Iran included. Iran is not going to come out a winner in that sense. Victory for Iran is survival. That's it. If this regime survives, this Iranian government will think it won, even if it loses all its major assets. It loses its nuclear research facilities, its uranium enrichment facilities, which it has built over decades. Those things are going to go away from the heavy bombardment that the US is going to carry on. Apparently, B-2s were already in action yesterday. So Iran is going to lose all of that, but if they can still keep the regime in place at the end of this war, and I don't think Donald Trump will be able to sustain this for many weeks because there is no support for this war. The Democrats are opposed to it, and I'm sure the MAGA crowd is already feeling cheated. Donald Trump promised to release the Epstein files, and he's been fighting to hide the Epstein files for the past 3 months. Everybody in the Trump administration has broken their promise about releasing the Epstein files. Donald Trump promised no more wars in the Middle East, and he's already actually started 8 wars. I think I was last counting. U.S. has attacked Somalia, U.S. has attacked Yemen, U.S. has helped Israel attack Gaza, U.S. has attacked Iran twice, U.S. has attacked Venezuela and threatened to attack Greenland. So Donald Trump, who talked about peace and no more wars, has become a warmongering president, and that is going to make him lose a lot of support in the MAGA crowd. As you can see, people like Tucker Carlson and others are going after that very clearly. Even Megyn Kelly, these are some of the very prominent MAGA voices who are strong supporters of Trump, but they do not approve of this foreign policy. So the MAGA crowd are basically 2 types: those who are Israel first, and then those who are not, like Ted Cruz, for example. Ted Cruz thinks that he ran for the Senate only to protect Israel. Somebody like Lindsey Graham, for him, the only interest that matters is Israel. Somebody like Schumer from the Democratic Party, for them, the only goal, he thinks his job is to protect Israel. So for these kind of people, yes, they will support this war, but there are others for whom Donald Trump was about increasing domestic, ending immigration, ending inflation, creating jobs. None of that is happening. Inflation has not come down, jobs have not been created, the economy is not doing well, and his approval ratings are in the tank. It's in the negative 18. That is what he's averaging, 15 to 18 negative. That means about 39 to 40% people approve, about 55 to 59% people disapprove of his performance as president, and more or less 70% of the country is unhappy. And even this war in Iran, only 20% of Americans supported this war, and about more than 70% opposed this war. So Donald Trump is not on a strong footing, so he's not going to like it if this war becomes pretty long. Imagine if this war lasts till November. He and the GOP, the Republican Party, will get wiped out easily. So anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you, and then I'll come back again tomorrow. I have a short piece about U.S. Ambitions in this war, what U.S. is trying to achieve. You can go to LinkedIn and you will find this article of mine there. But anyway, thank you for watching Conversations. Please like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this with your social political network. Now, if there are interesting questions or comments, I'll be happy to answer them. And if there are any interesting observations, I'll be able to read them. Here's a member of Conversation, Jilani Sabun. Thank you for watching. Wa alaikum salam to you. And then there are some, there's all this trash from India who say foolish things. Mehul Pandya, I will come back in another 15 minutes and do this in Hindi also. So don't be worried. You can come and ask your questions there too. Anupam Jain. Hello, Anupam. Sorry, Anupam, I couldn't meet with you in Delhi. And the last 2-3 days became very hectic, so I had to leave. But next time I'm there, definitely we are going to have either breakfast or lunch. So The consequences of this is going to be terrible. The Middle East is going to suffer significantly. There's going to be an economic consequence, which is negative. There is going to be a lot of tension, chaos, and if Iran does not become a stable country at the end of this war, how can it be? How can Iran be a stable country? I'm afraid that at the instigation of the United States and Israel, if some Iranians actually rise up in arms, then you could actually end up with a civil war in Iran. That is also a potential danger. Can you imagine whatever they are, IRGC versus the Artish, the Iranian army, going after each other? And the consequence of that, well, it would become an ungovernable place. It could become like a massive Afghanistan. Last time the US tried a regime change in the Middle East, ISIS came out of that. And see the devastation that ISIS caused in the region alone, in Iraq itself. So imagine something like ISIS coming out of Iran. Yes, Vikas, I will come back in another, it's 1:41 here, so I'll come back in 20 more minutes from now and do this again in Hindi and Urdu. What a strange question. This is nothing. Muslim population is the fastest growing population in the world. It will continue. Hundreds of millions are not dying, my friend. It will be like at the most at the end of this war, maybe 10,000 people are going to die. So this is not going to have like what probably you're dreaming that thousands of Muslims are going to disappear from Earth. No. In fact, this is probably going to unite the Muslims of Iran and Muslim populations worldwide, because they will see this as an imperial attack, a Zionist imperial attack on a Muslim country. So this might actually unite Muslims. Okay, you can already see protests in India, in Kashmir, and other parts of the world. And the reason why MBS has been simply refusing to join the Abrahamic Accords is because he's afraid of his own population. UAE doesn't have a population at all. The Emiratis are so small, and the UAE's government can control their population very easily. Saudi Arabia cannot. It's a big country with a large population, with a 20% Shia population on top of that. And to make them happy, Saudi Arabia recently appointed a Shia minister also. This was all in preparation of this war. Oh, yes. They are going to destroy the Middle East, and the Middle Easterners, I'm sorry to say that the current governments have absolutely no farsightedness when it comes to security. They think they can suck up to Israel and suck up to the US and be safe. No. Look at Qatar. It was attacked by Israel. America didn't protect it. What were the American military base? What was the point of having a base when missiles were landing in Doha? Americans did not warn them, did not defend them. And now what is happening is anybody defending UAE from Iran? I don't know the tactical side of it. I think the Israelis have very good intelligence in Iran. There are lots of Iranians who have either sold out or are committed to, are basically they're pro-Israel. And so they've been sharing intelligence with Iran for the last few years. Israel has been able to perpetrate many spectacular operations inside Iran, killing scientists and destroying nuclear experts, etc., with help from the Iranian regime, people inside the Iranian government. So yes, either there are people in Iranian society who are very loyal to Israel, or they are just doing it for money. Anyway, so I do not see any more interesting questions. So I will take your leave. I'll come back in another 15 minutes and we will do all of this in Hindi and Urdu again. Yeah, but China doesn't brag about it. China has been the biggest supporter of Iran. China has bought So how do you see, this is the question that I'm trying to address. So how do you see China's role? So China has been the biggest purchaser of Iranian oil. If Iran's oil is blocked, or if the United States somehow comes out and controls Iranian oil at the end of this war, then China is going to be the biggest sufferer. China has already lost access to the oil that it used to get at a discount from Venezuela. Now it doesn't get that. The Russians have provided weapons before this. They're also busy in their war. But there's a feeling that there will be some kind of support. We will see. This is a test case of what China can do in this case. India, of course, stands with Israel. So India is a hypocritical country, and Modi talks about being the voice of the global South, but it stands with the global North. And even in the global North, Donald Trump really doesn't care anymore about the United States. So India is now sucking up to Israel to get weapons, to get technology, because all this talk about Atmanirbharta and all is absolutely useless. Even India's military technology all comes from France or US or Russia or Israel. So India needs big daddies to support its military ambitions. Anyway, so thank you for watching Conversations. For those of you who are interested in a Hindi version of it, come back in 15 minutes or 14 minutes. Take care. Bye.